And no bed bug. Hi there, Aquarius. This is your weekly reading for the week of November 23rd. Thank you for your patience while we tried to figure out which channel we would upload these videos to. If you've noticed by now, my original channel, Rita Yanez, is missing all 700 plus videos. It's not something we expected to happen, but a particular opportunity fell right into my lap where I'd be able to test out a product, service that a lot of people talk about. And I'm going to talk about this next year after March approximately. And of course, we're going to give the information to you exactly the way we saw it working and obviously not working. So we'll talk to you about that later. The videos are now going to live at Rita Yanez TV. You'll be able to go to the old channel, which will still redirect you to the new channel, but I suggest you resubscribe. Subscribe again to ensure that when we disable the other channel, that you still find me here. So Aquarius, with that said, let's talk about your reading here, and then we're going to upload a lot of videos this weekend, so I'm going to talk pretty fast. If you need me to slow down, just slap me in the back of the head, but it might have to be long distance. I'm not where you're at. On Monday, the card you've drawn is the Nine of Wands. The Nine of Wands is a card that indicates you're feeling somewhat defensive. Maybe a little bit of this comes from the experiences that you went through when Saturn was touring Sagittarius. That was probably, I can't get any of this right. When Saturn was touring Scorpio, that was your solar 10th house. So most of this effect would have been in the theme of work, your career, what it is that you do for a living, the money that you make from this. And of course, now that Saturn is touring Sagittarius, it still is influenced a bit by the same career sector, but more about the alliances with people that you know, people that you group up with, people that are your co-workers, possibly people in the same industry as an extension of the 10th house. And again, because I can't see your natal chart, then I don't know exactly where your ascendant is. So I was about to make another joke. I am so sorry. I've eaten too many peanut M&Ms. They are like up to here, or as my dad would say, they're coming out of my gills. So anyway, with that in mind, let's continue. But you're feeling a little defensive, and I'm not going to put you down for it because, of course, you feel this way because you've become somehow conditioned to almost react or have to be in a posture of fight or flight that you just don't know what's coming to you. But I guarantee you it's not going to be that bad. Tuesday, the card that you've drawn is the Five of Cups upright, where, I promise you that this is just going to be part of the flavor of this week. But the Five of Cups is a card that talks about thinking about what shoulda, woulda, coulda been. And that's never really worth investing your time in. Made some mistakes in the past? So did I. Mine are probably bigger than yours. How about that? Maybe you feel like you aren't making the best decisions or that you feel embarrassed about some faux pas. Well, I bet you I've got 15 faux pas that are much bigger, badder, more swollen and uglier than yours. So I don't even want you to complain about what it is you're going through, because I can guarantee you if you feel like a twerp because of the mistakes you've made, I could probably tap dance all over them and show you the giant asinine mistakes that I have made. And I hope that makes you feel better, because I want you to feel better. But it is true. I make huge mistakes. On Wednesday, the card that you've drawn is the King of Cups. The King of Cups could be a gentleman who is a water sign, Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces, and it could be their rising sign. It could be just the way they come across. This is a man who's very sensitive, very loving, very caring, kind of the natural psychologist of the zodiac. This could be the way you're feeling, that finally you're like, you know what, I get it. I'm so much more into my water-bearing vibe, and I'm just really feeling how to tune in to other people's situations and even challenges. So if you do need to talk to somebody, you could be talking to somebody like this, if it's somebody whose advice you want or somebody who you want to vent to. And you may actually be this person for somebody else this week. Now, this is the day that we have the full moon in Gemini, which is your solar fifth house. So for a lot of you, it could have really put a damper on your romantic relationships. For those of you who are not committed or in a solid paired relationship, this would be the house that deals with children, creativity, romance. Pets also show up here, as well as the sixth house, your children, the environment of your home, and how everybody's interacting. So of course, if you work in a creative field, this full moon could be shining a light on something that needs an adjustment, or you're nearing the end of a project. And across the sky in the 11th house, we've got the sun in Sagittarius opposed to this full moon. What does that mean? Well, let's talk about it, shall we? The full moon in Gemini, opposed by the sun in Sagittarius in the 11th house, makes us almost have to take an unavoidable, very stark look at the same things that the fifth house rules. It could be that your friendship associations, your people you hang out with, do not really mesh with your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your romantic interest, or that you're having to spend too much time at the office with these people that you hang out with. And somebody brings some wieners in and some chili by the water cooler, and maybe you were there at work another hour that you wanted to really be home, but you couldn't, and your partner, your lover is not really excited about this. Or maybe you really do need to be home with your kids. Remember, guys, if you've got pets, those are children. They actually suffer a whole lot more when we're away from them than we realize. One of my sons brought this to my attention. I've got these brilliant kids that know things that I just don't know where they get this information, but they know a whole lot. So one of them was telling me about this theory that dogs don't know what time is. The concept of time is already not the same, but they really don't know if you've gone to the store for 5 minutes or if you've been shopping for 5 hours or 5 days. That's why they get so excited to see us. And I can see how this is true. I have a Labrador, my beautiful Truffle, that she has an anxiety attack if we leave and don't take her with. So just to make the dog comfortable, I single-handedly ripped out the carpet kit in my Jeep. I've got a Jeep King, and anyway, we Jeep people, we don't really want the carpet. We know that we're about to get in it dirty, muddy, snowy, wet, dripping, salty, sandy. So anyway, I took it out because I'm like, screw this. The dog sheds, and then she's going to get whatever is on her all over it. So there's a really nice rubber mat system that I want to get from Rugged Ridge. And this is not, they don't pay me. If you would like me, Rugged Ridge, to talk about your product, you can send it to me and I will do that. I'll test it for you. So anyway, this person is wonderful to talk to. And also remember that you have the pets at home. If you are a person with pet children, fur babies, that if you are spending a lot of time away from the house, remember that those animals don't know how long it's been that you've been gone. And sometimes puppies get very anxious when the humans don't come back fast enough, especially if you have a dog that's alone. I keep my animals in pairs. So I've got a chocolate lab, I've got my labradoodle, and she is my lab's niece. And then I have 4 cats. I've got Voodoo and his 3-legged brother, Bug. And then we have 2 other cats, Half Stash and Lucky Goatee. I know it's kind of crazy, but I love for them to be in pairs. That way they're not lonely. And in fact, hi, Alex, my beautiful brother and his beautiful wife lost one of their precious, precious fur babies. And so we were talking about this and I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. Now the one dog's going to be all alone. And you know what they did? They immediately went out and adopted a new friend. And I understand that that friend has just barely come home. And so just know it's the best thing to do to keep those animals in pairs. That way they're not so bored. When we leave and we need to be gone and we can't take them with because we can't leave them in a vehicle for very long, especially in the heat, then that way they've got their best buddy and they're really not alone. And remember when you come back to love them and kiss them and hug them and rub them and tell them how gorgeous and wonderful and amazing they are. Remember, dogs speak human, so they know what we're saying. So make sure you use a lot of loving words with them. On Thursday, the card you've drawn is a Magician in reverse. So you could be feeling like, you feel like you've got all the skills, but nobody is really listening to you or paying attention to you or hearing you out on your ideas of what you could assist in implementing that could make your work, the company's objectives, or your whole family's trajectory easier, smoother, and more prosperous. And if that's the case, because I really don't see it being a weakness issue for you guys here, I think that seriously, the time will come that they will notice how valuable you are and compensate you fairly for it. Or your family will finally get on board to work together to maybe reconstruct some of the house protocols so that you have a pattern, so that the dogs and your pets and your kids and your home life is structured, and that the routines are easy enough to adhere to, but makes everybody happy to pitch in. So your time is coming. And let's say it's a work situation where you're putting in, now it's not just the man hours. Now it is actually blood and genetic material. And you're like, I hope they notice I'm valuable here, because at some point I will leave. So continue to do what you're doing now. Don't make any changes yet. Pay attention to what's going on, because in December we're going to have a full moon in Cancer. Your solar sixth house right there, talking about work, and you'll get some more illumination there. Lots of points, plenty of points in the future that we can glean information from. We always have to make sure that we're ready to make decisions and that we always have contingency plans, but that's not because I see anything coming. It's because I know how wonderful you are and how much your potentials really are, how valuable they are in the world that you work in. And even if you're a sole proprietor, you flip burgers 9 to 5 and you do hair, from 5:30 till 11 o'clock at night, do your thing. Fly your freak flag. Make sure that what you do makes you happy, and you'll see that everything will fall in line. Just keep going with it. On Friday, we've got the Seven of Cups, which is a very Aquarian card. Of course, you being the water bearer. Seven of Cups in reverse is, I think, where you are seeing things as it is, as they are. You're being realistic about the situation, which is what Saturn in Sagittarius in your 11th house, looking over here at Gemini in the 5th house, is saying, yeah, that's creative, but will it produce? Or it says, yeah, I see that your family is fun, but do they need a schedule and a routine? So just keep that in mind, especially you moms that you stay at home with all of the little rugrats and the, carpet monsters, that you make sure that you've got time built in there to take care of yourself as well. Even if your fur babies are your children, which I've got fur babies, I have a lot of them. The Strength card here on Saturday is just reminding you that nothing that you do, nothing that you need to do is going to require brute force. It's kind of like, and I happen to know this, it's kind of like swapping out a spark plug. You have to be patient. It doesn't require brute force. It requires maybe a little bit of a flick of a wrist and the right grease in a couple of places, but it's not something that you rush through. It's not something you have to force. If you don't have the right tools to do it, you go get yourself an extension, or you have to have the right tools, but none of it really requires brute force, brute strength. Yeah, if you think you're going to get dirty, you probably will, but if you degrease that engine and get ready for it, then of course you can minimize your exposure by wearing an apron or some coveralls or a paint suit. So what I'm trying to get at is that preparation is everything, but nothing worth achieving that requires work, that requires dedication, that requires persistence, needs to have blood, sweat, and tears in there. Now, look, you could be a construction worker and, you could nail that thumb down, do something, hit yourself in the head with oh God, knock on wood, God forbid, but there isn't anything that you really have to do at this point that is really difficult. It's not like manual labor. It is now a thinking game, and that is exactly your game, Aquarius. You guys are the thinkers, and you can think on a big picture scale. And then by now you guys are old enough to be able to see how it all trickles down, and you're like, wow, I wish I would have had this kind of trickle down system 10 years ago. Well, we mature when we do. On Sunday, we've got the Seven of Wands in reverse, again an indication that even if you're feeling that you're not quite on top of your game, you can relax now, Aquarius. Why don't you sit in your easy chair? Why don't you recline a little bit, kick back, wiggle your little toes, have a glass of hot cocoa, and just make sure that you remember that everything is easy this week as long as you let it flow and go along its natural path. Let everything be organic. Make sure you take care of yourself and you ameliorate any situations that have potential of becoming problematic. And then just enjoy your time with your family, because next week and December is going to be much, much better for you. Enjoy yourself. I'll be thinking of you, and God bless.